in the ancient monastic family, such feasts are very rich in echoes. One carries all the weight of history. These ancient chants, a sample of which we have had even today, and also at the early Mass which some of you had together before dawn, are coming from the heart of the prayer of the Church and of the centuries, and it is ever new. For liturgy is the means given by Almighty God of inserting each generation in the event. Therefore, it is not just a memorial. There is a rendering present of every generation at the crib. The Lord gives a specific grace to each feast if we are receptive, and He places us truly there. I was thinking during these celebrations of the way in which the essence of this feast often is missed. Take yourself back in history. Take yourself back in cosmic history. It hit me quite accidentally this morning in something that happened at the dawn Mass. I was having adoration during the night before the Blessed Sacrament exposed, so as to make preparation for what goes on, as you know, in countries like Ireland on Christmas night. And just by carelessness, as I was deposing the Blessed Sacrament, I caught one of the angels that holds the little candle before the Blessed Sacrament, the which fell and let go some molten wax. And I thought to myself, wow, wasn't a bit like that way back? In pre-time, there was nothing. There was stillness and void. There was but one. The eternal, solitary one. He had a thought, and his thought was, let us make more, that they may enjoy this vision and ecstasy. So we had these angels coming out of his brain, a brainwave. But he did not want robots and automata. So the experts tell us that they were not given the fullness of ecstasy and brilliance and vision until they had passed a test. And we know what happened. It was rather like that angel before the monstrance toppling over. But in that case, the toppling over could not be remedied. I was distracted afterwards thinking, how shall I remedy this little accident? And I scratched my mind and I thought, not too difficult, there's a classic way. But then I thought, wow, what was it like in the cosmic battle? Did they actually caught on what was going on? Some say probably they did not really think that God would actually withdraw his great blessing, that they would actually have their independent realm and reign. A big surprise was coming, wasn't it? And we are told by the experts that there was a huge cosmic war, because Satan, by then changing form, was trying to get these others under him. And St. Michael was given power. Now, do you see how the incarnation was already present at that moment? That was the test given to them. They saw this infant reigning over them in an inferior form, and they could not take it. Now, the backdrop is this. We came on track in that world already contaminated. There was evil in the air. Now these angelic beings, with all their angelic might and wisdom, henceforth orientated in negative, hated us from the first moment. They can't bear the thought that we would get what they have lost. The Lord, therefore, in his eternal generosity, wanted a new wave of inventions, and we were dreamed into existence. One couple. And don't be taken in, there was one couple. We know it even from exorcism. You know how, don't you? In recent exorcisms, we have found out that quite a few people are possessed also by human demons. And names are coming out. We know that people like Hitler, Nero, and so on have been found there in exorcism as human demons. And one also has been found from that first wave of creation. Do you know who? Who was the first murderer? Cain. He's appeared in recent exorcism as a human demon, proving that Adam and Eve is not just a fairy tale. That's been handed down from prehistory, from our first parents, and respect traditions which come down, because the onus of proof, of disproof, is on the adversary. And God, in allowing the demon to come out with that, is underlining, yes, it's serious stuff. It all happened, this toppling, in one moment in history. Now, do you see Christ? In his glory, the second Adam, he was going to put back that toppled bit, and he could do it. Why? Because in our case, the responsibility was not total. We are less brilliant and powerful than the angels. We have a second chance. Now, do you see what went on in the mind of the Trinity? The Son of God, the second person, volunteering, I'll fix it. I'll go down there. So he knew exactly what that meant. The tree of Calvary was the complete reversal of that tree in Eden. And Eden means delight, a garden of delight. So when he came to Bethlehem, it was so as to get flesh, so as to be one of us, flesh in which he could now suffer. And he knew from the beginning that every moment of that existence on earth had the backdrop of Calvary. So it's not a sugary thing, Bethlehem. It was serious business, fixing it. Demon knew it. And what happened all along, as you see in the film of Mel Gibson, is very interesting. A cosmic battle. Until that one moment again in history, when all that went on in Eden, in one moment of time, was reversed and cancelled. By what moment? You know the word, don't you? It is accomplished. At that point, the veil of the temple, the old order, was torn in two from top to bottom. When he did so, he was perpetuating until the end of time that moment of incarnation. He was giving the church his presence. That flesh which he received on this day, he was leaving glorified and transubstantiated on our altars in what is his mystical body, his presence until the end of time. Every Mass is Christmas. Here the angels are singing quietly, and some saints have seen them. We can't imagine how many angels are here waiting. Would you like a story? It's true. One day, many years ago, in a little town in Luxembourg, a captain of the forest guards was in deep conversation with the butcher. An elderly woman entered the shop. The butcher broke off the conversation to ask the old woman what she wanted. She had come to beg for a little meat, but had no money. The captain was amused at the woman and the butcher. Only a little meat, but how much are you going to give her? I am sorry, I have no money. But I'll hear mass for you. Both the butcher and the captain were indifferent about religion. So they at once began to scoff at the old woman's idea. "All right then, you go and hear Mass for me, and when you come back, I'll give you as much as the Mass is worth." The woman left the shop and returned later. She approached the counter and the butcher said, "All right then, we'll see." He took a slip of paper and wrote on it, "I heard a Mass for you." He placed the paper on the scales and a tiny bone on the other side, but nothing happened. Next he placed a piece of meat instead of the bone, but still the paper proved heavier. Both men were beginning to feel ashamed of their mockery, but continued the game. A large piece of meat was placed on the balance, but still the paper held its own. The butcher, exasperated, examined the scales, but found they were all right. "What do you want, my good woman? Must I give you a whole leg of mutton?" At this, he placed the leg of mutton on the balance, but the paper outweighed the meat. A larger piece of meat was put on, but again the weight remained on the side of the paper. This so impressed the butcher that he was converted and promised to give the woman her daily ration of meat. As for the captain, he left the shop a changed man and became an ardent lover of daily Mass. 2 of his sons became priests, one a Jesuit and the other a Father of the Sacred Heart. Father Stanislaus finished the story by saying, "I am the religious of the Sacred Heart, and the captain was my father." From the incident, the captain became a daily Mass attendant, and his children were trained to follow his example. Later, when his sons became priests, he advised them to say Mass well every day and never miss the sacrifice of the Mass through any fault of their own. The weight of one well-attended celebration of the perpetuation of Christmas is something we cannot fathom. And people are more interested in a big chat than in the one they're holding in their breast. That, my friends, is really sad, and the angels weep. For who is feasted at Christmas? Is it Jesus, or is it someone, something